If you have a following, you're crazy not to have a book.
Yeah.
Because you will sell a lot right away. People want more from you. So that's really great. But for most of us, we are adding a book into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to get more clients, better clients, speaking engagements, that kind of thing.
Right.
And the book is a tool to leverage.
Mm-hmm.
So some people give away their book.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it's to leverage your credibility, your leadership role in the field, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You're a thought leader. You wrote the book. So it's not about selling individual books because, first of all, then you're only talking about, a few dollars at a time.
Right.
Whereas if you leverage the book to get a $5,000 speaking engagement, that's a lot more significant.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Little Fish Podcast, where we honor, celebrate, and learn from small business owners just like you. My name is Joel Eschenbach, and today I have Barbara Dee on the podcast. Barbara is an author. She's a publisher, an editor. She's president of Suncoast Digital Press. She has a ton of experience helping regular people like you and me write and publish and get books out into the world. So welcome to the podcast, Barbara.
Thanks for having me, Joel.
So the first question I want to ask you is, why is it important for every business leader to write a book?
Instant credibility.
Okay.
Even though it's much simpler in a way because of technology and different, Amazon and different things, it's much simpler in a way to become a published author and faster. It still has so much cachet. It still has so much authority building power so that people instantly have a different opinion of you just because you say you're a published author or, yes, my book on, I'm the guy that wrote the book, So
right.
Let me ask you, Joel, how do you convey expertise and experience? Somebody is considering having you develop their website. They want somebody that knows what they're doing. They want a real expert.
Sure.
How do you tell them, I'm an expert?
I say it on the phone call. I'm an expert. No, I don't. I mean, it's really showing our work is probably the best tool for doing that.
So you are asking them to go look at your work, which is a great idea. It's perfect. It is a second step if you are an author of a book, because right off the bat, you're the guy that wrote the book.
Right.
Means that you're an expert. You know something enough. So, for example, meeting planners, I know for a fact that if they're considering, who do I want to have come be a keynote speaker?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this person has 10 years experience, they have this credential, they have this. And then the differentiating factor is, this one wrote the book. So instantly, that's the one that they're going to choose.
Right.
Because they're the published author.
Right. Okay.
And I have a few of my best.
You just have a few books here.
They're books, but they're like my friends. I have a lot of affinity for each of these books, and each one has a story, and each one has an author just like you and me, people that are not writers.
Yeah.
They are business people, and they wrote a book for the first time in their life. And so I thought of this one as I was just speaking because it's an example of someone who wanted to get the keynote opportunity at a national conference. And so he talked to me about, do you think there's any way we could write a book and get it published in just a few months? I'm like, well, sure. So even though it's kind of a thin book, it has his expertise, his 20 years of experience, his lessons of a top producer. And when he submitted his proposal to be the speaker, he was able to say, I'm a published author. And what do they see? They don't see this book. They see this cover, which looks awesome.
Right.
And he got that keynote speech. So he specifically used the book in a quick way to leverage that. So that's just one opportunity that always makes a difference if you have a book. If you want to do more speaking engagements or go from unpaid speaking engagements to paid speaking engagements, it just gives you that extra level of credibility.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that. And like you said, it doesn't have to be a really thick book to start. It can just be something. Sure. I've got to ask, though, because this is the thing that always comes into my mind. You mentioned they're not a writer. They're business owners just like me and you. So that's my big challenge. I always think, well, either I'm not a good enough writer or someone's already said this better than me. So what are your thoughts about those objections or challenges?
I hear those a lot.
I'm sure you do.
The writer part, I mean, people come to me with all different levels of wanting to write a book. Maybe they already have a draft. Maybe they have a book they want to rewrite, or maybe they just have an idea, or they just know they want to write a book.
Yeah.
So, and then I've also helped people where English is not their first language, and they know they are going to need quite a bit of help with the grammar and the actual writing. But the important thing is to get your ideas into an outline. And I don't mean the kind of outline you learned in English 101. I mean a nonfiction book outline, which I give you. And then it helps you structure your experiences, your stories, your ideas, your message. Particularly helps you hone your message. And then once you have that, and I help you fine-tune that, you can sit down and write the book as long as you take some time, hopefully a little bit of time every day, and write from that, because it's all in you. You're not going to try to write a book about, nutrition science if that's not your field, even though you think that would be a hot seller on the diet circuit. Right. No, you're going to write about what you know. And then that ties into the second part of your question, which is no one can write your book but you. And that is because I strongly encourage the more stories, the better. That's what people are interested in.
Right.
When you read a book, especially a nonfiction book, it's got to be entertaining also.
Yeah.
It's got to be engaging and, interesting because it's real world examples. So
otherwise you could just have an outline of here's the 5 bullet points I want to cover in the book and we're done without the stories. And
that's right.
Yeah.
So the stories, they serve to illustrate your point, obviously, but they also engage the reader. They make it more relatable. Oh, yeah, I had a boss like that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can see where appreciation was missing in that organization. So they start relating because you're telling stories. So right now, you could probably think of a lot of stories from when you were a startup. What were the challenges? What were the mistakes? What were the victories? Yeah. What constituted a big win then compared to now? I mean, you have all of that. If I was interviewing you, you could tell me all of that.
Right.
So it's all there. It's just a matter of putting yourself in the reader's shoes and thinking, what do they want to know? What's going to be helpful to them?
Yeah, definitely. That's good. And you help people write, but you help with editing.
I do all the editing,
publishing,
absolutely.
Everything So from start to finish, it's the whole thing, right?
Exactly, because my background is as an entrepreneur. I have owned different companies for many, many years, and everything from a computer company in Atlanta to I'm a master certified business coach. So I totally relate to the small business owner and the entrepreneur. And this is just a tool in their toolbox. So I'm going to hold your hand through the whole thing until you're also a published author.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to be anything different than what you already are. You
Yeah.
don't have to become a great writer or anything like that.
Oh, that's good to know. Do you have any other books that you got a lot of books there? I'm curious.
Everyone has such a great
story.
story. This is a fairly recently published book called All Is Well, Understanding the End of Life, Caregiving, and Hospice Care
Wow.
by a hospice professional right here in Sarasota at Tidewell. And she just found out that she was accepted to give a hour-and-a-half breakout session at a national conference this summer. And she, feels very strongly that having this book, which is, totally related to her topic of what she wants to speak about at the conference. So she feels that having the book gave her that leg up, and she was chosen from the different people that wanted to be the speaker in that slot, and so now she's going to get to do that. So it really helped her a lot for that particular thing, but it's also going to help her because when she retires, she wants to go around the world and speak on the topic and do consulting, and so she'll have a next career after she retires, and it's all going to revolve around this book.
That's very cool.
It's very cool.
So somebody writes a book and you help them with that process, no matter where they get the content from, how it goes, whether it's more of a story focused or whatever. They're going to sell millions of copies, right? That's the purpose.
Unless you are Michelle Obama or,
you either have the fame, notoriety, or you're like a journalist and you've been in the business for years and or you're a writer and that's your career.
Well,
right?
The main thing today is your followers.
Right. Audience. Yeah.
No matter who you are, if you have, 250,000 Instagram followers or Facebook, sure. Sure, you can expect to sell a lot of books.
Right.
But that took a whole nother process and years or whatever you did to get that built up. But if you have a following, you're crazy not to have a book.
Yeah.
Because you will sell a lot right away. People want more from you. So that's really great. But for most of us, we are adding a book into the mix. So we want to get more clients, better clients, speaking engagements, that kind of thing.
Right.
And the book is a tool to leverage. So some people give away their book.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it's to leverage your credibility, your leadership role in the field, all of that. You're a thought leader. You wrote the book. So it's not about selling individual books because, first of all, then you're only talking about, a few dollars at a time.
Right.
Whereas if you leverage the book to get a $5,000 speaking engagement, that's a lot more significant.
Yeah. Whereas books is, I think some people might think about, well, this is a supplement to my income. I can make a bunch of extra money. But yeah, you're right. That's not what it's about. It's about what place could that book bring you to? That you wouldn't get there on your own.
And at the same time, it is nice to get royalties. I mean,
sure.
Amazon has hundreds of millions of buyers on their site. So, I publish you to Amazon and your book is going to reach a lot of people that you would never reach on your own. And so it is great to have your book selling. And I have a little health ebook that, sells. I do no marketing whatsoever, but it sells. I get some royalties every month on that. It's just it's cool. So you can build up your income that way. But I'm just saying it's probably not the best way to think about it. It's better to have a marketer's approach and think, well, how is this going to fit into my marketing plan and help me expand all of my goals for my business?
Right. No, that's good. And you talked about ebook. So if you don't mind, let's talk about an ebook a little bit. So you had mentioned to me before, think about writing a book. There's all the benefits. We just talked about all the benefits of writing a book. We looked at some books. But what if you're not quite ready to write the full book? An ebook could be a first step, right?
It could be a first step, a last step, a middle step.
Okay.
But it's important to consider having. So I spent about 3 years developing a course that I recently launched on how to write a nonfiction book and or ebook.
Okay.
And so it's a very comprehensive course. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah.
And it just takes you step by step through the whole process of deciding on a topic, how to do your outline, and then, tricks for enhancing your writing and adding stories. But it could be applied to the full book, or it can be applied to an ebook. So I also have like a little mini report that is how to write an ebook in one weekend. Because if you have an ebook, it gives you a lot of the same benefits. You can say that you're a published author because it's going to have a nice cover. It's going to have a great cover, even though it's just an ebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it also gives you the process of organizing your thoughts. If you follow my step-by-step, it will show you how to put yourself in the reader's shoes, ask their burning questions of you. So make a list of their burning questions. What do they really need to know here that I can give them? What are their headaches? What are their concerns? What are they worried about? What are they clueless about? So you write the questions first, and then you write answers to those questions.
Yeah.
And then you turn around and change the question into a chapter title. So that's a short way to say you can write an ebook just based on questions and answers of the topic that you want to communicate, that you know a lot about, with the audience in mind.
Sure.
So an ebook doesn't have to be more than, say, 20 to 50 pages.
Okay.
If it's less than that, it seems more like just a report or a
white paper.
Yeah,
or like
handout or something. So I like to go for 25 pages, maybe up to 50, but it doesn't need to be, you don't want it to be too much because people expect to be able to read it pretty quickly. And has to be organized very well with bullet points and maybe a diagram or something. It has to be very aesthetically.
Yeah, be designed well, laid out well. Yeah.
That's important. But the cool thing is on the design is that it can be full color. You can have photographs. You can even have embedded video. You can have anything because it's all digital.
Yeah, because you're not having to worry about printing it.
So the cool thing that best thing that I've seen about using an ebook is when you have it on your website. And I know you have an ebook, maybe some of your clients do, but it's like a lead magnet too.
Yeah, it totally is.
Because you put it on your website and that's the value where people want to give you their contact information. The visitors want to say, yeah, let me sign up for this free ebook.
Yeah.
So,
and you mentioned, I think, I don't know if I read it in your material or we talked about it before, but you mentioned that it's getting harder to get people's contact information. And I've heard this in other venues too. It's getting harder to get people's email address. Email addresses are worth more now than they used to be because people are giving them out less. So you really need to give more value. And so an ebook, right, is a great way to do that in exchange for an email
which
address.
Sounds more valuable, a book or a newsletter?
A book, for sure.
I mean, there's just no question.
Yeah, and it's funny because people don't really want to read newsletters anymore. It's like.
And how much work is writing an ebook 1 weekend? How much work is writing a weekly or bi-weekly newsletter?
Yeah, you're doing it constantly, right?
You're doing it constantly. Even a blog.
Yep.
Is so much more work. Even a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
So you write the book, and then maybe you work on another one because it's good to refresh, your offers or have different things. But a great example was an ebook I actually wrote many years ago for an MD. And he wanted it on his website to collect visitors and content information. So it was about healthy lifestyle, this and that. So the deal was he could offer it as a free download, and he put signs around his office, free download of this great book.
Okay.
So when you went and clicked on it and you put in your information, you were offered 2 choices. You could download the free ebook as a PDF, and it was 35 pages, and print it out.
Okay.
So you did get a free ebook if you wanted it. Or click here to buy the Kindle version on Amazon for $5.
That's a smart idea.
People that didn't want to print it out, didn't want the paper version, they could just click and spend $5 and have the Kindle version.
Have it on your e-reader, which is way easier to read than trying to zoom because you can pull a PDF up on an iPad or a Kindle, but it's hard to read. Yeah.
So it did create a revenue stream
for sure.
people that wanted to buy it on Kindle. But it also fulfilled giving a free ebook if that's what they wanted. So that would be, I think, ideal.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that would be ideal because then you're in the Kindle store. It gives even more credence to the, you're a published author. You've got the book selling on Amazon.
Yeah, right. And put you out there online more. And then again, like you said, you can also use it on your website, get the email address, and then use that for marketing. And yeah, that's cool. So
it makes me think about the title and subtitle too, which I go into a lot in my course.
Okay.
It should be SEO.
Yeah.
That's how people are going to find the book when they've never heard of the book or you. They're going to search for a topic or something that they have a question about. And if your title and subtitle are SEO, which
SEO
it's
friendly.
not that hard to do if you really work at it, you're going to be found on Google as well as Amazon, as well as a lot of other places.
Yeah, very cool. Well, before we wrap up, I wanted to go into a couple. I think you have some really helpful, and you just started to talk about some of the questions you ask when writing an ebook. But I think it'd be helpful for our listeners to have something to take away if they wanted to get started. So a couple of you have your blueprint for an ebook. And the first question you ask is, who is my target audience? Actually, the first 2 questions, it's who is my target audience? And who is the one person I most want to read and embrace my message? So you want to talk about those 2 a little bit?
I do, because this is the first big conversation I have with people. Who is your book for? So often I hear, well, anybody could get something out of this story.
Yeah. We hear that in marketing too a lot. Yeah, right.
Anybody.
It's for everybody.
Men, women, any age. It's like, I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true. But if you try to write in such a general manner, it's not going to have any punch. It's not going to be effective, and it's not going to hit the target reader.
Right.
So it's kind of counterintuitive that you want to narrow down who you're writing for in order to reach more people.
Yeah.
But it's true. So like Stephen King, like the most prolific author, right? He says he writes to one person. So if you can get that one person in mind, and the other day I worked with an author on this, and she came up with, it's to myself 20 years ago. Okay, great. It's to yourself 20 years ago.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to her? that's fine. Or it could be to, your son. It could be to your mentor. It could be to somebody that you want to coach on a basketball team. It could be anybody that you can picture who they are and what they need that you can provide.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Just ran across this quote I got to share.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Winston Churchill. If you have knowledge, let others light their candles with it. To me, that's like saying, you should write a book.
Yeah, right. That's true. And it's interesting about focusing on that one person, because I think that applies to any sort of writing, whether you're writing emails, like we do a lot of marketing emails, website copy, anything. If you think about that one person, you're focusing on that ideal target customer. It helps you, not try to write to everybody. Yeah, that's boring. Writing to everybody's boring, not compelling.
It's not compelling. It does help you focus. And it also makes your writing more conversational because at least in these nonfiction books that I specialize in, you want your book to be a bridge, a real connection between you and your target client.
Yeah.
So the more conversational that you can be with that target client, the more they're going to like you, trust you, and buy from you.
Yeah, that's right.
So you've got to establish that by being conversational and speaking to them.
Yeah, that's good. All right, let's look at a couple of these other questions. So your blueprint for writing an ebook. First, we're going to talk about your target audience. What's that one person you're writing to? Then you mentioned this before. Talk about what are their current headaches and what is their biggest problem. So to me, those tie together too. Can you talk about those two a little bit?
Well, why would you buy a nonfiction book? A lot of times it's to find out how to do something.
How to solve a problem.
Solve a problem, exactly. So how to solve a problem books, which are not, all these books are not that, but they're great because you solve problems in your business every day.
All the time, yeah.
And so you have a lot of case studies to share, a lot of expertise, experience, distinctions, principles, tips. So if you just stand in the shoes of somebody who doesn't know how to solve that problem or those problems, you already know what they ask, what they need. And if you don't have a full picture of it, then you need to survey people. And you can do that with, digital surveys, SurveyMonkey, or you can just ask, or you can read other books. You can do research to find out more about what people are looking for, because you do have the answers, but you need to really understand the questions too. Oh,
that's good. So you want to figure out their headaches, what's their biggest problem. And then this was a big part of then laying out the ebook is, what are 6 typical questions my target reader has about my topic? So what's that about?
If you can come up with 6 to 8 really good questions, I call them burning questions, then if you address those, wow, that's a lot of value right there.
Yeah.
Your ebook's written.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And then you said something about you've got those 6 to 8 questions, and then you take those questions and turn those into chapter titles, right?
Yeah.
And then you answer them. And then you say here, I thought this was really good. After you've written the questions or the answers to your questions, then you supplement those with a couple of ideas you have. So you've got them all written out, and you say maybe a statistic or a shocking fact, a story, which we talked about that, a relevant quote, or you say why embracing your solution ends suffering. That's a big one. So take those questions, in addition to your answering those questions, work in the stories, work in illustrations, and then you've got your chapters there, essentially. You
might have so much, you go, man, why don't I just go ahead and write a full book?
A full book, right. Which would be the goal. Do you have people do that where they write a full book and then take a portion out of it for an ebook?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, I've done that myself.
Yeah, that
and
makes sense.
It's very smart. Some of my authors take their book and turn it into more than one ebook. They get their blogs from their book. They've already written, they've already thought about how to say something. So they take a 500-word excerpt from their book, and there's their Facebook post.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, we talk about that too, creating one form of long form content and just reusing that over and over again. I recently wrote a blog post, and then it was a long blog post, and we used that to create some Instagram posts and Facebook posts, and we used that for a whole month worth of content. So it really does help.
Exactly.
I haven't written a book yet. We're getting there.
Well, instead of a month, it would give you a couple of years.
Yeah,
But,
that's true.
No,
Good point.
that's the perfect concept right there, because
point.
it's repurposing, but it also, helps more people.
In different ways, yeah, because people are learning different ways. People are accessing different channels. And then you say basically to wrap it up with, and I'm skipping stuff here because in order of time, but you say wrap it up with really a call to action in a sense, because in an ebook, that's really what you're trying to do is get people to make that next step to contact you or whatever, right?
Sure. If you have demonstrated in your ebook, and by the way, you want to give like your best tip away, just give your best tip away.
Yeah.
They don't know it's your best tip. They think, man, if he's giving away this, I wonder what else he has.
Yeah.
So you put something of real value in your ebook, and that gives you that credibility. And if they are, interested in anything that you have to offer more, they're going to contact you to find out more because they already have a sense of you. They have a sense of that you know what you're talking about, and that you understand them.
Yeah.
So yes, you put your contact information in the back. You put your links. You put a link to another, form, assessment tool, all kinds of things. Exactly. Something that you can put in that ebook, and not just in the back of the ebook, but throughout the ebook, you can have links so that people, stay engaged with you and take that next step.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked about why it's important to write a book. I think we're pretty convinced of what's the importance of that. We gave some steps about, hey, if you're ready to just start with an ebook, here's the steps to do that. So what if someone's like, okay, I think I might consider this. What are the next steps? Either having you help, you mentioned a master course, you mentioned contacting you. What can they do? What are the next steps to work with you?
I have a great tool that I'd like to offer for free to anybody that asks for it. So just email me.
Okay.
Barbara at suncoastdigitalpress.com. So just email me and I will send you the ebook blueprint tool.
Okay.
And it can get you thinking and starting. And in that process, you may decide to finish an ebook, or you may say, I want to expand on this and do more than an ebook. But in any case, it will really lead your thought process through writing a book for people that have never written a book or think, yeah, could I write a book? I'm just a business guy. No, you can write a book. I promise you.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I've seen it happen. So when we've worked with you, we've had clients that I've watched go through the process with you and on different levels. Some of them are coming with, like you said, a written out manuscript, and some I've seen come with not much at all. And you're you're helping from start to finish. Go through that process. So I have seen it with my own eyes, and it's been pretty cool to watch. Definitely.
Just have to give you a quick example.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, so this book, he'd been writing for years.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stories about his road trips, and then by journaling and taking fantastic photographs, he had so much content that he knew he had a book, and he did.
He did. And he has a lot of really practical tips in there about road tripping that I've used. Like it just really basic stuff. Like I think it was take a break from driving every 2 hours or every 3 hours and get up and stretch and walk around, which you're like, duh. But, when you're on a road trip, you're like, yeah, you can't stop, if you have to go to the bathroom, pee in a cup, it's that sort of thing. But just, yeah. And I watched him, I saw that first on just a Word document. He had a number of pages, and then I watched you help him transform it into that. It was cool. So anyone can, anybody can do it. And you can help them no matter where they're at in the process. Whether they just need to start getting out the stories to you, or whether they've got a whole book basically written out and just need you to help edit it and put it all together in the right format.
It's true. There's a lot of questions. You know how important questions are? Mm-hmm. Like if you're interviewing a new client,
yeah,
it's all about the questions that you ask.
Right.
So in my conversations and in my course, it's all about pulling out from you what's already there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can supplement it with a few pieces of research or statistics or quotes from other people, but for the most part, it's already there.
Yeah. That's cool. And you mentioned emailing you about your ebook blueprint, also your master course. We can put the link to that in the description as well, so people can take that. And that, like you said, that was 3 years worth of work for you.
It is. It's a comprehensive workbook. It's audio. It's the actual recordings of a pilot class that I taught, so you can hear other people interacting. And it's great because it gives you so many of the steps that would be applicable to pretty much anyone.
Yeah.
Gives you all of that, and then when you have your manuscript from doing the course, then you're ready for a whole nother level, proofreading and publication and all of that. But meanwhile, you've gotten, at your own pace, you've gotten really far along.
You've gotten the hardest part done.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you for being on the show, Barbara. It's been great having you. I've learned a lot. These have been some really good examples, and I'm excited to think about it myself, maybe writing a book, but also for those who are listening, I hope it encourages them to know that they can do this.
It's true. My first book on the subject was called You Should Write a Book, and then the word should is crossed out. You can write a book. And that's what I've been doing for almost 9 years full time. So it really is an incredible personal process.
Very cool. Well, again, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for watching. As I always ask, if you could subscribe, if you listen to us on iTunes, give us a 5-star review. We would love that. And subscribe on YouTube. And thanks again for joining us for another episode of Little Fish Podcast.